Jesus, looking at the rich man's, loved him and said, "You lack one thing. Go sell what you own and give the money to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. Then come, follow me." This is this wonderful time of year, this season of mists and mellow fruitfulness that Keats talked about in his Ode to Autumn. It's this wonderful color and the scents and the smell of apple on the ground, and it's cool, you can do things outside. It's a beautiful time of year, but it's a kind of sad time for me because it's the time of year that I have to put away my motorcycle pretty soon. I've got this motorcycle which I've had for a number of years. I tried to sell it one year, and I did sell it, and my wife bought it back from the same people I sold it to, which is very unusual. She loves riding on it, and we go for evening rides, and we did this in Western Massachusetts, and we still have it. So I've got this thing, and it's become a ritual for us. Late summer evenings, and we go maybe get a bite to eat or something. And I am going to connect this to the gospel. In the 70s, many of you might remember this kind of cult book, which is still in print, called The Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, by a Minnesota philosophy professor named Robert Pirsig. Somebody told me after the 8 o'clock service that he had sent this to 70 publishers and got 70 rejection letters, and then somebody picked it up. Lucky them. Still in print. The book begins with a description of riding on a motorcycle and the comparison between riding in a car, driving in an automobile, and riding in a motorcycle. He says, when you're in a car, you're in a contained, enclosed environment. And you're in a kind of space which is protected from the rest of the world, right? You drive by a swamp, a pig farm, whatever, and it may take a while before you actually realize that you've just driven by a swamp or a skunk or something. Because it's often an air-conditioned or environmentally controlled space, and as you're driving by, you are seeing things through the windshield, which is this screened-off, this shielded screen, and he says it's like you're watching TV as a kind of passive observer to the environment, right? When you're in a motorcycle, everything, especially like if you're in Connecticut or New Hampshire, which are referred to as donor states by the hospitals, where you don't have to wear a helmet. That's why they're organ donor states. I'm not going to go to the political thing. So, you are in the environment. You are participating in it. It's as though whatever is happening there, you are in it. There's no separation between you and the environment. So you drive by the wetlands or the swamp, and you know it. There may be temperature differences, cool, warm. You feel it immediately. You're in it. And that's what he says is the thing, that's the spiritual experience of being on a motorcycle. Now, you can get that just by walking, right? Or running, or riding a bicycle. You get that. This is where I think it connects with this gospel. The rich young man runs to Jesus, kneels before him, presumably because he knows that there's a lack. There's something missing. He's wanting something. He's done all these good things. He's been good. He's obeyed all these commandments. there's still something that he wants. What does he ask for? What do I need to do to get eternal life? Which is, I think, the scriptural way of saying, how can I get real? How can I participate? How can I be in fully God's presence? How can I enjoy and be a part of the full life that God means for us? And Jesus says, well, you know what it is. You obey the commandments. He says, yeah, I get all that. I've done all that. But there's still something that keeps him, protects him, screens him off, is a kind of obstacle from being in fully the life of the triune, the God of relationship. What is it? Sell all that you have. It's his possessions, his stuff, which he is still grasping to and holding on to. And he doesn't want to let that go. So Jesus, seeing this gap, this obstacle in this man's spiritual life, loves him. This is just a small factoid that I discovered when I was researching this. You know, the three what are called the synoptic gospels, the gospels you can read side by side, Matthew, Mark, and Luke. This is from Mark's gospel. This is the only place in those gospels where Jesus actually says that he loves somebody. Freaky, huh? A rich guy. We're not supposed to like the rich, right? That's just what we always hear about. We always hear about the rich. You know, there's a preference for the poor. But there's something about this that shows that God loves all people and that his wealth could be used to bring him closer to God. Instead, it's an obstacle. It's as though Jesus is saying, time to get out of the car. Get out of the car. Get out of the plush environment. Get out of the thing that protects you from what is. And follow me. A couple from the 8 o'clock service, I forgot their name. They've been going to from national park to national park throughout the country. They're up there. They've been. They told me that they are at Yellowstone Park, and they heard this curious statistic that 90% of the people who go to Yellowstone never get out of the car. So they never get out. When they go to Old Faithful, they don't even get out of the parking lot. We did this past summer. And you know, it's interesting to be in the parking, to get out of the parking lot, to stand around Old Faithful with the crowds of people who are waiting for 45 minutes to an hour for the geyser to erupt, and it stinks like sulfur. And you just smell it, and then when it goes, you feel the mist. 95% of people travel these places and they want to stay in the car. They want to be protected from it. What's up with that? The church knows something about that, I think. Because we have gone through a whole period in the church's history where we see church as a place that you go to, that you come inside for. And we stay here, and we have stained glass windows to sort of protect us from what's outside, right? And we think that the church is what happens right in here, when in fact, God is drawing us here to tell us the stories about what God is doing out there, outside. Probably the most frequently used verb in the Gospels is go. Get out. Get out of the car. So we'd say in Manchester. Right? So laundry love. This is why I'm so glad. I didn't know that Brian was going to be coming here and talking about this story. Laundry love, in some ways, could be yet another way to stay in the car. Except we're just going to trade this car for a laundromat. Except that the point of it is not so much just to be good people and give to the poor. It's to provide an environment for us that feels safe, where we can actually begin to listen to Jesus. We find Jesus in the laundromat, among the poor, among those whose resources are so limited that they have to go to the laundromat to do their laundry. You know how expensive it is to do your laundry in a laundromat? I mean, talk about the poor remaining poor. Our doing the laundromat, or dropping coins or credit cards into the laundry, is our way of purchasing the possibility of relationship. We can actually not just talk to people, but listen to them. And in doing that, follow and find out where Jesus is. Somebody told me, a priest said, they learned much more about who God was in a soup kitchen, at a homeless shelter, and in a laundromat than in all of the lectures on systematic theology they had in graduate school. Later this month, I think it's on Tuesday the 20th, there'll be a number of us. I'm going to join you. I'm going to rearrange my schedule. Again, I just learned about this. Just taking a stroll, walking into the neighborhood, this neighborhood, finding out, going to look for Jesus. And Jesus is there. Jesus will be there in the faces and the words of many people and those experiences. And then we can come back, just like the disciples did when Jesus sent them out, and hear, what is God up to out there? What's it like outside of this automobile? What's it like? What is reading? How many of you have read C.S. Lewis's The Great Divorce? You read that book? You read it? A few of you. It's be a good Advent or Lent reading. It's not about divorce. Just like in many ways, today's gospel is really not about money, but it's about relationship. The relationship with Jesus. The Great Divorce sets up this scene where there are people who are fallen, who are not in heaven, but in that other place, right? And they're there because their lives are insubstantial. Lives of insignificance. In fact, they don't even really have flesh on their bodies. They're kind of ethereal because they're not real. They've kind of become detached from reality. And they get on this automobile, they get on this bus that takes them to heaven. And the thing about heaven is that basically it's just what is. It's real. It's a reality which is sort of so hard to comprehend and experience among those who are fallen. So that the light in heaven is so harsh, it's so much, that they just have to squint. They have to shield their eyes from just regular old sunlight. And as they're walking along in their ethereal bare feet, the blades of grass are just too sharp. It's just too much to take. How they've been living lives of such protection from what's real. I think Jesus is saying to this rich young man, get real. It's not just about being good. God knows we don't need another organization of good people. You know, we've got the Rotary, we've got the PTO, we have town meeting. We don't need to have like a PTO meeting with hymns. Sometimes what churches become.